Hi everyone, welcome back for another video. This time we're going to do the February bullet journal setup, and it is going to be a little bit about love for Valentine's Day, but kind of in a different way. This theme is entirely inspired by the author, poet, singer-songwriter, and publisher Shel Silverstein. His books were some of my favorite to read when I was younger, and the two that really stuck out to me is The Giving Tree, which is the theme for the cover page of this month, and that's what I'm sketching out now, as well as The Missing Piece Meets the Big O, which you can see along the side there. Part of what made me choose The Giving Tree as the inspiration for this month is just how much the theme of love plays in that entire book. The tree gives and gives and gives to the boy who seems to just take and take and take and not give anything back in return. If you've never read the book, I highly recommend, because it will have you feeling so emotional about a tree at the end of it. For those of you who haven't, spoilers ahead, but definitely please go check out your local library and check out The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. In the book, it's about the tree who meets and befriends a young boy, and throughout his entire lifetime, the two of them have a very special relationship in which it seems as though the tree just gives and gives and gives, and the boy just takes and takes and takes, hence the name The Giving Tree. But I always felt it as though the tree had an immense love for the boy, and the boy was just too young and too naive, and then later on in life, too self-centered to notice until the end. In this spread, I did a rough sketch and just focused on the general shapes in the beginning, and then I went ahead and with my Sigma Pigma Micron, I filled in the leaves. Now there's a lot of them, so I made them messily, and I wasn't really too preoccupied with the shape or making them look uniform, because then you could literally be there all day. And in a similar vein to my last bullet journal spread, and I think in the theme of all of Shel Silverstein's illustrated books for children, there are no perfect lines. Things are done kind of messily. Sometimes they look like mistakes, and I love that. I think as a kid, we're allowed to make a lot of mistakes with the assumption that we're meant to just grow out of it when we're older, but you really don't learn and you don't grow unless you make mistakes. So by all means, be messy. I also really want to apologize for how shaky a lot of this footage is. I tried a new setup, and I really like how much space I have and how much more you guys can see. However, I didn't realize that placing my tripod on this table was gonna make it be so shaky. And so I'm really, really sorry for like the Cloverfield effect. If anything, we'll just blame it on me being from California and that we get a lot of earthquakes here. Although this one is just earthquake Leo, I guess. I was really worried about sketching out and drawing the boy because, again, I was so worried about trying to make him look perfect. But when I again looked back to reference photos, he wasn't drawn perfect, and so I kind of didn't mind him looking a little scraggly, because I think that that is very much in line with Shel Silverstein's illustrations. I then went ahead and wrote February in just regular kind of messy font on the tree trunk. And the only color in this piece is the apple. You'll see that for the rest of the themes in my bullet journal that all center around the giving tree and the missing piece, they're all minimal. I don't use any color except for the apple. And basically my thought process behind it is two things. One, the majority of Shel Silverstein's books, including The Missing Piece and The Big O, do not include color. And so I thought it would be really nice to have this very minimal, just black and white with the black line illustrations throughout, and then use color to fill in the weeks. So I can use different colored pens for my weekly spreads when I want to write in my tasks or my meetings, and then I can also use different colors to write in my little taskbars. I think that's a great way to kind of make it look more put together at the end when I look back once the month is done. And then I can see all the color that I've added. Here you see me filling out my habit trackers, and I use the same leaf motif around the habit tracker title as a border. And then again, I'm keeping everything really minimal, and I'm just writing out my 6 things that I'm tracking for the month of February, and they are carrying over from January. So it's reading, journaling, mindfulness, 10,000 steps, working out, stretching, vitamins, flossing, and writing. I'm also hoping to be able to fill these spaces in with colored pens as well to add color back into the spread throughout the month. Because of how minimal this is, this spread was actually really easy to make. It only took me an hour, whereas I think most spreads take at least 2, sometimes even 3 or more hours to complete. This one, I was literally just able to crank it out really quickly. Here on my calendar spread, you guys are going to see that again, it's very minimal. I'm just filling in for the entire month. I've mentioned before, but I like to have an entire month spread that takes up to 2 pages, so I have enough room to write in any events or things that I have to remember throughout the month. And this is a page I often flip to back and forth. I also hope to fill this up with a little bit of splashes of color by using colored pens to fill in any events. And I was going to fill in the 14th with a red pen or a pink pen to symbolize Valentine's Day, but I wasn't able to find any of my colored pens, so unfortunately this is still going to remain quite blank, but again, hoping to add more color as the month goes on. At the top, I used the same leaf motif to outline the border of the month of February. And for these, it's the same as the cover page. I'm doing it messily. I'm not paying too much attention. I'm also kind of staggering the way that the leaves go out so they don't all look the same. Because if you look at any sort of plant or tree, you'll notice that leaves grow in many different directions and are different shapes and sizes. I didn't pay too much attention when I was writing out February, so I had a lot of space in the column that I made, and I added a heart, and I didn't realize it right when I did it, but it's actually kind of perfect because right here I start to sketch out the final frame of the story, which is when the tree is little more than just a stump and has nothing left to offer the boy who is now an old man, but there is still a remnant of a heart that was etched into the side of the tree by the boy when he was a young kind of teenager, young adult with his first love. And so I thought it was really fitting to have the heart at the end of the asterisk in February to kind of harken back to the little heart that is carved on the tree. This one again, I was a little bit worried, especially with the proportions of his body. I was really unhappy with how the legs were coming out, and I kind of tried to redraw them a couple times. And then I realized, it's okay to be messy. That's just how it is. And so I even make a mistake when I was filling in his leg with the Sigma Pigma Micron. But when again I look back at Shel Silverstein's illustrations, a lot of them have those raw edges. It looks unfinished, but I really appreciated that about it. So I actually loved the way that this entire calendar page and the old man came together. Right above the old man, I decided to continue with what I did last month in January, and I added an intentions section. So this is a little place where I'm going to add what I want to achieve or things that I want to focus on in the month of February. Now for the weekly spreads, this is where I started to shift from the giving tree into the missing piece and the big O. That's what you see here in the top center, with the missing piece being on the left side and the big O being on the right. As usual, I keep the rest of the spread really minimal because that's how I prefer to have it. I decided to use different panels from the book throughout my bullet journal spread. So you see in the first panel, it's mirroring the cover of the book, which is the first instance where the missing piece meets the big O. And this is also, I think, the biggest tie-in to the month of February. The month of February has Valentine's Day in it, and in it, we always think of couples and people doing things together as a couple and sort of finding your missing piece, your other half. In Spanish, it's called media naranja, which literally translates to the other piece of the orange. But if you read The Missing Piece Meets the Big O, you learn that it's not about finding somebody else. It's about learning to be okay and whole within yourself. And I wanted to read to you the section where the missing piece meets the big O. I think you are the one I have been waiting for, says the missing piece. Maybe I'm your missing piece. But I am not missing a piece, said the big O. There is no place you would fit. That is too bad, said the missing piece. I was hoping that perhaps I could roll with you. You cannot roll with me, said the big O, but perhaps you can roll by yourself. By myself, a missing piece cannot roll by itself. Have you ever tried? Asked the big O. But I have sharp corners, said the missing piece, and I'm not shaped for rolling. Corners wear off, said the big O, and shapes change. Anyhow, I must say goodbye. Perhaps we will meet again. And away it rolled. the end of the story, you see, and that's the final panel here on the last weekly spread of the month, that the piece starts trying to roll by itself. And as it does so, its edges wear off and it starts to grow, and it doesn't become a missing piece anymore. It becomes its whole self. And it starts to roll with the big O. They meet again. And I love that because it just goes to show that even if you're in a couple or you're single, it doesn't matter. We are all whole people within ourselves. I just wanted to leave you guys with that thought, and here is my final bullet journal spread. I love the way that this whole thing came together, and I hope you guys did too. And just remember that we are all whole beings. We don't need anybody else, but they're great to have. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.